The jackpots in the Powerball lottery and the Mega Millions get bigger all the time. Now they break $1 billion pretty regularly, even up past $1.5 billion, and just once. Well, we'll get there when we get there. But who's taking these giant prizes home? Let's look at the 20 biggest lottery jackpots of all time, who's won them, and how they're doing today. Starting with number 20, $533 million, 2018. Richard Wall is our first winner. He was a pretty normal guy, working as a supervisor for a food service plant in New Jersey. On March 30th, 2018, Wall had $22 in his pocket. He bought some gas and a Mega Millions ticket. When he found out he'd won the jackpot, he says he double-checked the numbers on his ticket 15 times to make sure. He thought he'd won $1 million, but he was wrong. He was the only winner of the $533 million jackpot. He did the sensible thing and took the lump sum payout. After he paid taxes, yeah, you have to pay taxes on your lottery winnings, he went home with about $175 million. So what'd he do with all that money? Well, he moved to Florida to live the relatively quiet life of a multi-millionaire. In 2019, he had a business idea. He bought a hotel on the Atlantic coast of Florida called La Playa Resort and Suites. It had been closed since Hurricane Matthew wrecked it in 2016, but Wall wanted to reopen it as a timeshare. So he bought the place, then 2020 happened. You might remember that the year 2020 wasn't the best year for vacations or construction projects. Whether COVID contributed or not, 3 years later, La Playa Resort and Suites are listed as permanently closed. If it never reopens, Wall might just be out $13+ million he bought it for, and anything he spent renovating it. One realtor estimated that could cost about $24 million. This kind of setback can ruin most people. With his winnings, Richard Wall can only afford to lose that much money 3 more times before he'd have a measly $25 million left. Number 19, $536 million, 2016. The next winner is a couple from Hamilton County, Indiana. On July 8, 2016, they were on a road trip with their 2 kids and bought 5 Mega Millions tickets at a gas station. Then, they forgot about it until almost a month later. When they found the tickets again, they checked the numbers and found out they'd won the jackpot, $536 million. Now these 2 wanted to keep living a normal life, except for all the money, and didn't want to mess things up for their kids. So they formed a limited liability corporation to claim the money for them. And that's why I can't tell you their names. That's going to be a pattern on this list. For every winner, the first question is whether they went public or stayed anonymous. Sometimes staying anonymous isn't an option, like with the crew who won the next jackpot. Number 18, $543 million, 2018. When the Mega Millions jackpot got over $500 million in 2018, Ronald Reyes decided he should play, and he got 10 other employees at the Wells Fargo where he worked to go in on it with him. The 11 of them each put in $2, and they hit the top prize of $543 million. Even split 11 ways, that's a nice chunk of change, and the guy who sold them the ticket got $1 million bonus too. Because they won in California, the 11 winners had to share their names, but they kept a low profile otherwise. Being one of 11 helps. They didn't even quit their jobs at Wells Fargo, at least not right away. But having to share your name with the public after winning the jackpot can cause you a lot of trouble, which is why our next winner really didn't want to do it. Number 17, $559.7 million, 2018. You see, the state lotto commissions really like to share the names of the people who win. It's good advertising, and it helps show that they're not cheating. But the whole world finding out you just got rich is an invitation for all kinds of trouble, from harassment to lawsuits to kidnapping. So when this Jane Doe in New Hampshire won the Powerball jackpot worth $559,700,000, she didn't want to share her name, even though state law said she had to. She sued the state to keep her privacy. The case went all the way to the New Hampshire Supreme Court, and she won. She got to white out her name on the winning ticket and write in Good Karma Family Trust of 2018. She took home a cool $264 million. Now our next winner didn't stay anonymous, and she didn't need publicity for trouble to find her. Number 16, $590.5 million, 2013. On May 18, 2013, an 84-year-old retired teacher named Gloria McKenzie was waiting in line to buy her Powerball ticket when someone cut in front of her. Or maybe she cut in front of them. She's told the story both ways, but Gloria took the quick pick. Whichever place in line she was, that was the right one. Her random numbers hit the $590.5 million jackpot. Naturally, the great-grandma took the lump sum. Unfortunately, a $278 million payout after taxes couldn't buy her a calm retirement. 6 years later, Mackenzie was suing her own son. She said the son had hired her a lousy financial manager. After hearing the guy's commercial on the radio, and not only did the guy do a terrible job of making the money grow, he helped himself to $2 million in fees. As of 2023, the lawsuit is still going on. Unfortunately, Mackenzie died in 2021. It's safe to say this was not what she probably hoped to leave to her kids. Our next jackpot leaves the $500 million range behind, and we start getting up into amounts of money that are just reality bending, even if you split them two ways. Number 15, $632 million, 2022. In January of 2022, it had been 3 months since anyone hit the Powerball jackpot, and it had grown to $632 million. Then, on January 5th, there were not one, but 2 winning tickets. The first winner came forward in Wisconsin. The ticket belonged to this nice Midwestern couple, Cliff and Tammy Webster. The Websters ended up taking home just shy of $140 million, and they seem to have stayed out of trouble since then. 4 whole months later, Orlando Zavala Lozano turned in the other winning ticket in California, and he's managed to stay out of the news too. Number 14, $648 million, 2013. Our next biggest jackpot win also splits two ways. The week before Christmas 2013, a Northern California delivery driver and a Georgia grandmother both hit the numbers for the $648 million Mega Millions prize. At the time, it was the second biggest jackpot in history. Ira Curry in Stone Mountain, Georgia, came forward first to collect her half. The other winner, Steve Tran, didn't know he'd won for more than 2 weeks. On his delivery runs, Steve bought lotto tickets all over, and he kept them in a pile in his bedroom. That's where his winning tickets stayed, while Steve took a vacation over the holidays. When he got home, Steve heard the winning ticket had been bought in San Jose. When he remembered he'd passed through there, he checked his ticket pile. Sure enough, there was the winner. He told his wife the good news, and then he told his boss that he wouldn't be coming in ever. Number 13, $656 million, 2012. When our last jackpot was the second biggest jackpot ever, this ticket was the record holder. On March 30th, 2012, the Mega Millions jackpot was up to $656 million, and there were 3 winning tickets. 2 of those 3 ticket holders wanted to keep their heads down. The first one was an anonymous winner in Kansas. The second was a trio of teachers in Maryland who called themselves the Three Amigos. The winners who went public were Merle and Patricia Butler of Red Bud, Illinois. Patricia said that she'd giggle for about 4 hours when she found out they'd won. The couple took their share, about $158 million, and bought a mansion in Florida. But they also held onto a house in Red Bud, and that's presumably where they live now, after they sold the mansion in 2012. Number 12, $687 million, 2018. 4 days before Halloween 2018, 2 ticket holders split a $687 million Powerball jackpot. The first winner lived in Redfield, Iowa. Loren West bought her winning ticket while she was out with her sister, and she left the ticket on the floor of her sister's pickup truck. Luckily, the ticket was still there when she went back for it. After she collected her half of the jackpot, West got some friendly publicity by going on the Ellen DeGeneres show to donate $500,000 to a charity for disabled veterans. The second winner was Robert Bailey from New York City. At the time, it was the largest jackpot ever won in the state of New York. Robert Bailey was a retired government worker who lived in Manhattan. where he'd bought his winning ticket at a deli. Bailey took home $125 million after taxes. He said he wanted to set things up for his family, but he didn't want his lifestyle to change much. In fact, he said he was going to keep playing the lottery. $699.8 million, 2021. Our next winner didn't have to share. At the start of October 2021, the Powerball jackpot was just a rounding error shy of $700 million. There were 5 tickets that matched the first 500 numbers, but only one matched the red Powerball number. That ticket belonged to Steve Godfrey, who bought his ticket in Morro Bay, California. It was the biggest jackpot ever won in California at the time, though there's one coming up that blows it away. Godfrey took a lump sum payment of $496 million before taxes. By the time the media caught up with him, he'd already set up a foundation to handle the money and do what he called deliberate charitable things. It sounds good, if a little vague. I can't help but wish him luck with all the deliberate charitable things he wants. Number 10, $731.1 million, 2021. At the beginning of the same year, a Powerball jackpot of $731 million was won by a mysterious, anonymous group that called themselves the Power Pack. Whoever they are, the Power Pack bought their ticket in Lonaconing, a depressed former coal town of just 1,200 people in western Maryland. Things got a little hairy in Lonaconing because everyone suddenly wanted to know who in that little town was suddenly rich and if they'd maybe share some money. One family, the Winnebrenners, was a popular suspect. They wrote a letter to the local paper saying they weren't the winners, and even the mayor of the town said he knew Mr. Winebrenner hadn't bought the ticket. But that didn't stop people from harassing them for money. The Power Pack knows who they are, but they're keeping their mouths shut. Number 9, $754.6 million, 2023. Becky Bell worked for Boeing, the airplane company, in Washington State. In February 2023, she was buying a Powerball ticket at the grocery store when she saw the jackpot had gotten up to $747 million. Like the Boeing 747, she decided she had a lucky feeling, so she bought 2 tickets. The jackpot ultimately went up to $754.6 million. But that change didn't spoil her luck. Becky Bell won the biggest jackpot ever seen in Washington State, and she took home a lump sum of $407,200,000 before taxes. Number 8, $758.7 million, 2017. Here's another jackpot that was the biggest ever at the time. We're getting close to the first jackpot to break $1 billion. I can feel it, but not yet. $758.7 million is nothing to sneeze at, though. In fact, it's pretty exciting. Mavis Wanchik didn't have any chill about winning it. Even though you're allowed to take your time getting things ready before you cash in your ticket, this 53-year-old Massachusetts nurse turned in her ticket the next day. By the end of the day, she'd already retired. You don't have to jump in with both feet like that. In fact, it's smarter not to. But I hope she's enjoying her retirement. Is our next winner the one who hits the big B? Number 7, $768.4 million, 2019. The Powerball jackpot for March 27, 2019 exceeded Mavis Wanchik's record by a whopping $9.7 million for a total jackpot of $768,400,000. The winning ticket belonged to Manuel Franco, a 24-year-old from Wisconsin. Like a lot of 24-year-olds, Franco had less than $1,000 in the bank. This wasn't going to be a problem anymore. He took the cash payout for $477 million pre-tax. Unfortunately, after he came out publicly as the winner, he had to start hiding from the media and people trying to get money out of him. What's he up to now? Celebrating his 28th birthday, probably. Bet it's a better party than I had. So that's the 4th jackpot in the 700 million range. Okay, I don't know. At this rate, are we even going to get to $1 billion? Number 6, $1.05 billion, 2021. Yes, we are. Finally, The Mega Millions jackpot for January 22, 2021 broke out of the millions for an awesome $1,005 million. And the winner in Michigan was a group of 4 anonymous folks called the Wolverine FLL Club. Since we don't know anything about them, I like to imagine the club is an actual family of Wolverines. But these suddenly wealthy Wolverines were smart enough to hire a human attorney to represent them. Since Wolverines only live about 15 years in captivity, it made sense for them to take the one-time cash payout instead of a 30-year annuity. After taxes, that came to $557 million. Split 4 ways, that's $139 million per Wolverine, which should keep them all in high-end beavers, rabbits, voles, and insect larvae until the end of their days. Though their lawyer also said the club would be giving to charity around Southeast Michigan. Don't let it be said that Wolverines are always bad-tempered. Number 5, $1.34 billion, 2022. As we get into the higher jackpots, we're also getting more recent years. And recently, people have been more aware of how important it is to protect your anonymity when you win, especially when you make the big news jackpots over $1 billion. And with that kind of money, you can afford to take your time, hire lawyers, and do it right. That's why our next few winners went the same route as the Wolverine FLL Club, but with less fun names. They set things up to take their winnings anonymously, so they could enjoy their multi-millions out of the spotlight. On July 29, 2022, the Mega Millions Lotto had gone 29 drawings without a jackpot winner. That brought the top prize to $1,340 million. That's the round when in a gas station just north of Chicago, someone bought the winning ticket. It was a good while before anyone knew who it was. In Illinois, lottery winners only have 6 days to claim their prize, and it was 54 days before the winners came forward to turn in their ticket. The anonymous pair had spent time talking to lawyers and financial advisors, and generally getting their ducks in a row. They took home a lump sum of $780.5 million pre-tax, and that's all we know. Number 4, $1.348 billion, 2023. Our next winner is even more of a mystery. The Mega Millions jackpot for January 13, 2023 just edges past our last one at $1,348 million. Someone bought the ticket in Lebanon, Maine, but the prize was claimed by a limited liability corporation called Lacoma Island Investments. They took a cash payout of $723 million, and I guess they invested it. You may be wondering if that name, Lacoma Island Investments, is a clue to who the winners are or where they live. But there's no such place as Lacoma Island, so if you figured that one out, you're smarter than me. Number 3, $1.537 billion, 2018. We all know a little more about the next winner, though we still don't know their name. As of the drawing of October 23, 2018, this was the biggest jackpot ever won on a single ticket. 5 years later, there's only been one bigger, our number 1 entry. This time, the Mega Millions jackpot has gotten up to $1,537 million. The winner bought their ticket in Simpsonville, South Carolina. She stayed anonymous, but took home a pre-tax lump sum of $878 million. She used that right away to donate to some charities, and she let the media know which ones. She donated to a hurricane relief fund in South Carolina and the Red Cross Relief Fund for tornadoes that had just happened in Alabama. About 100 miles away in Columbia, South Carolina, she gave money to a breast cancer charity and the Ronald McDonald House. The City of Simpsonville Arts Center got a nice donation too. Number 2, $1.586 billion, 2016. Our second biggest jackpot was the Powerball back on January 16, 2016. It weighed in at $1,586 million. You might notice that's more than some of the record-breaking payouts I've mentioned already. That's because, even though this jackpot was far and away the biggest ever in 2016, there were 3 winning tickets, so the payout split 3 ways. So the jackpot for each was $528 million, which doesn't sound like much this high up on the list, but let's not lose perspective. Oh, who am I kidding? I've been talking about lottery winners for 15 minutes straight. My perspective is completely shot. But still, 3 ticket holders took home $500 million, and this time, none of them stayed anonymous. In fact, the first ones to come forward were John and Lisa Robinson of Munford, Tennessee, and they announced their win on the Today Show. It's no surprise that they ended up getting more attention than they wanted. With a lump sum payment of $327 million, the Robinsons were probably going to move into a mansion anyway. But this got more necessary when people kept trespassing on their property in Munford. They live in a house on a lake now, and they've kept pretty quiet. The next winners to come forward for their share of the $1.5 billion jackpot were Maureen Smith and David Kaltschmidt from Florida. Like a lot of Floridians, these two have lived most of their lives in Long Island, New York. It seems like taking home $250 million didn't change too much for Maureen and David. They didn't buy a mansion or do much else extravagant. They did buy a Tesla for $90,000. Remember, this was 2016, before Teslas were, in the news quite often. The third set of winners were Californians Marvin and May Acosta, and they kept everyone waiting. Because California law makes lotto winners reveal their identities, but it doesn't make them hurry. The Acostas kept their heads down for 6 whole months while they put together a legal and financial team to handle their share of the winnings. They continued to keep their heads down even after they claimed their payout of $265 million after taxes. They bought a bigger house, but not too much bigger. Only 5 bedrooms and $500,000, if reports are to be believed. In the end, all 3 sets of winners were pretty careful and didn't do anything too wild. They all got a part of the biggest jackpot ever, until recently. But split 3 ways, it was only enough to bring them into the ranks of the mildly obscenely wealthy. But what if the winner didn't have to share? Someone got our #1 jackpot all to themselves, as long as they can hold on to it. But we'll get to that. Number 1, $2.04 billion, 2023. That previous record for the biggest jackpot ever, $1.58 billion, lasted from 2016 until November 8, 2022. This time, the Powerball jackpot reached an astonishing $2.04 billion. And there was only one winning ticket sold in Altadena, California. The winning ticket was in the hands of Edwin Castro, a 30-year-old LA man. Like pretty much everyone else on this list, he took the lump sum payment, which was a pre-tax bounty of $997,600,000. As an aside, it may be a little frustrating that there have been 6 jackpots over $1 billion, but no one, not even the guy who won $2 billion, got to take a whole $1 billion home. Even so, Castro bought himself a $25 million mansion with what's basically couch change for him. With some reasonable investment, he could expect to be a proper billionaire pretty soon. And it might be the most honest billion a guy's ever made, unless Jose Rivera is telling the truth. You see, Rivera is suing Edwin Castro. He says he bought the winning ticket, not Castro. Rivera's case is still working its way through the courts. Rivera claimed he'd lost the ticket. He accused his landlord of stealing it, and somehow the ticket got into Castro's hands. The landlord sort of supports the story. He says he didn't steal anything, but Rivera did show him the winning ticket. If Jose Rivera is telling the truth, he's in a tough spot. The California Lottery Commission says you've got to hand in the ticket to be the winner, and Edwin Castro's the one who had the ticket. If he's not the one who bought the ticket, it's not technically the Lotto Commission's business. It's a bad look though, and the Pasadena police confirmed they're looking into it. Meanwhile, Edwin Castro is trying to get the lawsuit thrown out, but the judge isn't going to rule on that until September. So, the story is ongoing. Who knows what will have happened with the biggest jackpot ever by 2024? Maybe, by then, someone else will have won an even bigger jackpot. Those are the stories of the winners of the 20 biggest lottery jackpots ever. We found out where they came from, and if they didn't go radio silent, we found out what they did with some of the money. Did you notice how none of these stories had a part where the winner decided to give money away to strangers on social media? Yeah, if you see a message like that, that's a scam. Stay safe out there. And if you're wondering what to do if you end up as a big winner, check out our video on the 11 rules lottery winners have to follow.